Hello, everyone. Welcome to Empowered Hearts Podcast, episode 16.
Hello.
Today, we are getting to know Morgan. Hi, Morgan.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, Morgan is a life coach, and she's a soon to be NGH certified hypnotist. We're going to talk about her journey today from being an addict and living in her car to now owning her own business
Mhm.
and helping people with addiction, mental health, self worth, inner child healing, self love, all the things.
All the things.
We're so excited to do this with you today.
I think it's important. We've been interviewing other people and we've had our podcast, and Krystle and I are like, why have we not properly introduced ourselves and shared our
Yeah,
stories? It's like, take
absolutely.
our advice, but have no idea who we are. So,
Get to know us a little better.
yeah.
So, we know that with the journey of empowerment, or we can say awakening or healing, because it all kind of fits under the same umbrella, comes like a pivotal moment in your life, or like maybe multiple moments where all of a sudden you're like, oh, something's off. Like, I'm not meant to be here anymore. So, can you tell us about one or a few of these moments that you've experienced in your life?
Oh, yeah. The first one, how old would I have been? So I'll just give you like a brief recap of my story. And if you guys want to dive into it deeper, I was actually interviewed on my story, like in like deep details on an addiction documentary that was funded by the Canadian government, actually by this amazing human, Krystle, who is an advocate for addiction and helps people. And he's another whole story. I'd love to have him on here as well. But
Mm.
anyway, so that goes really into depth. So I won't go like that in depth, but I'll link it below if you
Mhm.
guys want to listen.
Mhm.
But essentially I grew up I'm an only child, a very sensitive child, and I grew up in a household with my two parents, and my mom was an alcoholic. And my parents were arguing all the time. It was just, they were young, they were not conscious of their life, and they were always arguing. And we lived in a smaller home that you could like hear everything. And I didn't have any siblings. And then I was a bit of a loner as a kid, so I didn't have any friends really. So I was always caught in like the muck of my parents' life, and they're
Mm.
fighting, and my mom being like drunk, and like it was like not just a little bit drunk, it was like in the hospital, like falling down the stairs, like injured, like
Mm.
there's a lot of abuse. I won't go into it all in depth, but there was a lot of abuse that went on in the home. And so I
Mhm.
ended up with, you know, PTSD, or rather CPTSD if we want to get technical, but I ended up with trauma from
Mhm.
this household. And my mom didn't obviously know how to regulate her emotions if she was constantly drinking to make herself feel better. And as much as I didn't want to be like her, I ended up like her, because we become often what we see. And what I
Mhm.
saw was that every day at 4 o'clock, my mom would drink a bottle of wine, or two or three. My parents were
Mhm.
arguing, like it was just chaos. And I hated the chaos, but I was comfortable in the chaos. So
Mm.
then I developed my own anxiety and depression from this. And my way of coping was to get high. And it's funny, like in the moment, like I didn't correlate the two. I wasn't like, oh, I'm doing what my mom's doing. I saw it as
Mhm.
different somehow. Somehow, like I was like above what she was doing, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so this went on for a while, and my drug of choice was Percocets and Oxy. And cocaine. Those were like my two. Oxy and Coke were my two drugs of choice. And that went on for, I just started using at 14 of like weed and alcohol, and then it progressed and got worse. And I would say around the age of like 21, I really got hooked on Oxy, and I didn't know I was in trouble until I wanted to go on a trip with my friend and was realized like you can't just like bring oxy that's not
Right.
prescribed to you just anywhere in the world. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to take it now, and left it at home. And I was like in major withdrawal, which I didn't
Oh,
know what
wow.
that was.
Yeah.
So
So were
just,
you physically sick? What did it feel like?
yeah, well, you get like really bad sweats,
Hmm.
really bad. You're just really unwell. Like your stomach's off, you're throwing up, you're sweating, you have cramps, you're lethargic, you're tired, but you're
Hmm.
antsy, your nervous system's on fire.
Yeah.
It's like the absolute worst sickness that you
Yeah.
can get. Like it literally feels like your body is dying and and everything is hypersensitive. So you feel everything
Oh, wow.
nth degree because you've numbed it for so long, right? So now your
Yep.
receptors are coming back online and it's like, holy shit, and it needs the drug and it doesn't have the drug. And
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but the withdrawal eventually got so bad that that's what forced me out of it. So along the journey, like I
Yep.
relapsed, I don't know. I went cold turkey probably 7 times, 6 or 7 times.
Yep.
Let's say the seventh time at the age of 27 or maybe a little older, I don't know. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I ended up, yeah, like my addictions were so bad. My mom had eventually got sober and was like, I'm not putting up with this with you, Morgan. Was like, you can't live here if you're, doing this. It got so bad. I was on meth because like Coke wasn't doing it. And then I ended up living in a motel. And and then when I couldn't afford the motel, I was in my car.
Yep.
And it was like I didn't have a job, I didn't have any skills, I had dropped out of school. Like I didn't have any job history. It was just me flying by the seat of my pants, getting by. I think I was on in Canada, we have ODSP, which is like Ontario Disability. So so I should say this, like from the anxiety and depression and
Hmm.
stress that I had at home at 14 was
Yep.
why I used, because my mental
Okay.
was unwell. Like I
Because
didn't
I
do
was gonna ask that
that.
question. I was gonna say, what was the beginning point of, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it was my way of coping, right?
Just too much emotion.
Much emotion, too much
Yeah.
pain. And I
Hmm.
always say, like, you know, it was literally like joy in the palm of my hand. Why wouldn't I take it? Like it would as a no-brainer.
Right.
I'd been to doctors that nobody really could fully understand the trauma I was experiencing. I had been to psychiatrists, I'd been to therapists, I'd been to
Mhm.
psychologists, and it just was, it felt just easier. It was like instant gratification of taking my pain away.
Mhm.
And I didn't have like a handle of the whole picture of life. And I was young. So and then it just became a problem.
One of the things that I remember you sharing with us was like for someone who hasn't lived the experience, just to like get like a little bit of an understanding, it's like a band-aid, right? That's kind of how you described it.
Yeah. Well, because you feel good when you
Yeah.
don't. So you're tricking your brain into feeling euphoria when there's all of this muck inside of you, right? That
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. And there's no fast way through it
Yeah.
unless you want to be on drugs for the rest of your life. Like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's literally just a temporary band-aid. And then you need more and you need more and you need
Yeah.
more, and then you can't function, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I ended up homeless, and somebody approached me about me selling my body. And it was like, that scared the shit out of me. I was like, what am I doing?
Mm,
What am I doing?
mm,
Like, I am in way too deep. And it wasn't like, oh, hello, do you want to sell your body today? Like it was like rough.
yeah.
It was, I felt pressured into this. I'm going to be, these people are like, they could kidnap me.
Mm,
Like I was in no mental capacity to look at the situation objectively. Like I was scared. And
mm,
Thank God.
Mm.
Thank
Yeah.
God for it though, because
Yep. Yeah.
it was like, so I would say that moment,
Yep.
my first wake up to like I knew what I was doing was wrong, but
Hmm.
I was still having a good time, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that was the first moment of like, this is not fun anymore. So that was my
Mm.
first wake up call. And
Hmm.
life, I slowly, progressively got better from there with trials and tribulations. But
Hmm.
that was my first wake up call. And then later, you know, I got sober from the
Hmm.
drugs, but then I
Yep.
moved to alcohol, you know, because I still I didn't have an understanding of
Mm.
of the root system is what I call it. Like
Yep.
I talk about addiction as like, imagine a tree.
Hmm.
So the roots are where the problems are. You are the body of the tree, and then the addiction manifests in the lead, like in the branches. It's like, oh, I'm going to do smoke cigarettes, or I'm going to take oxy, or I'm going to do cocaine. And it's like, if you don't pull the roots up, it's
Hmm.
just going to manifest one way. You can clip the branches all you
Mm.
want, but it's
Yep.
just going to move from drug use to sex or to
Yep.
alcohol, whatever. It'll manifest in a different way. You have to look at the roots and
Yep.
really look at what's going on in order for the tree to stop growing, right?
I love that. And it makes so much sense as we now hold space for others and to see someone who's walked through, trauma or has used substance to cope. It's like there's really just all this really heavy or heavy.
Debbie.
I combine the two words, heavy, dense emotion
Hey, that's
underneath.
our new word today.
And it's just like being able to not be scared to feel it, which it can be so scary if you've never even allowed yourself to go there, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. You know, I would say it's it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Like
Mm,
I thought my emotions were literally going to kill me. That's
yeah,
why I chose this path of
yeah.
substance, because I literally thought looking at all this stuff was going to kill me. And it
Mm.
didn't. It was like,
No,
I think if we can just understand how to calm our nervous system down while we process
yeah.
our emotions, like have healthy ways of processing. You don't want to do it all at once, like have it be slow, slowly look at the things that are under the rug or in the roots of this
Yeah.
tree with compassion, with
Mm,
acceptance, slowly with guidance. Always have,
mhm.
like, I would never suggest doing this by yourself. Always have
Yeah.
guidance. I had really good support at the end when I decided to look at my trauma. And it wasn't from a doctor, I'll just say that. It wasn't from it was
Mhm,
from a spiritual mentor who helped me understand how to safely manage my nervous system
mhm,
with tapping, meditation, screaming, like these
mhm,
things that are so normal, but
mhm.
to us as humans, but they're not normal in society. It's like, ooh, you're doing something weird. You're tapping your meridian points. Like, no, that's part of the body.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like you watch kids. I always use kids for example because kids they live in the moment and
Yeah,
as their emotions come, they express them.
yeah,
It's so healthy. It's like if they're mad, they're mad.
yeah.
If they're sad, they're sad. And then 90 seconds
Yeah,
is what it takes for to process an emotion.
yeah.
That's it. If you can fully give it space for 90 seconds, yeah, it's
Angry,
fascinating.
go scream your head off until you're not angry
Yes.
into a
Yep,
pillow. Like it really works.
it
And so
does.
I learned those things. No, I kid you not, I was in therapy with psychiatrist, psychologist, and like a psychotherapist who really did CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is like kind of similar to the principles of hypnosis, similar but not the same.
Yep.
And I still was like, no, like nothing helped, like nothing. Now, whether that was me not wanting the help right? Like, I don't know,
Mm,
but like nobody ever made me feel safe enough.
mm,
I
yeah.
don't know. It just was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but and so being able to heal from this, I think I was addicted to Oxy and Coke for 15 years. Like I'm not kidding. 15 years.
Yeah.
It would have
Yeah.
been, okay, maybe not quite 15, maybe like 13. It was a long, but with the
Yeah.
whole thing included,
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
been 14 I was using. So 14 to
28.
28 about, or 29,
Yeah.
30. Like I think I was still drinking maybe at 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, but that's a long time to be
Yeah.
using substances, but it just goes to show you, I'm 36 now. It goes to show you that like almost overnight you can be
Yeah.
well. Literally.
Yeah.
I spent all that time being unwell and using, and I've had like miraculous success from
Yeah.
these modalities of just
Mm,
listening to your body, understanding what you need in the moment, practicing
mhm,
mindfulness, meditating, being
mhm.
present, nervous system work,
Yeah.
breath,
Like
movement,
compassion
compassion.
for self and like um one of the things that I have learned from your journey and from our mentor is that when you figure out the reason why you're using or why it is that you think you need the substance, it's like you, without trying to say like, don't do it because that doesn't work, but
No,
it's like, why am
that
I
does
doing
this.
it? Is it serving me? Like, why am I actually doing this?
Well, it probably, and the thing is that it is serving you in some way.
Right. Yeah.
It is helping, or else people wouldn't do it.
Oh,
But it's
truth. Yeah.
like you said, like if you understand why, okay, now let's look at why.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that, and we're going to interview our mentor on here, which was going to be awesome because she's really helped
Yeah.
us. I wouldn't be sitting here today without her.
Yeah.
So, if you understand why without shaming yourself for what you're doing, and let's continue using. I don't even ask people to stop using because that in itself is going
Create
to go,
shame, doesn't it?
well, it's going to
Yeah.
go against like, you want to create a little opening of understanding, right? If you understand why you're doing something and then look at that slowly with compassion, with nervous system work, with love,
Mhm.
subsequently you just don't want to use. Like it's just like
Mm,
it's like a domino effect.
mhm.
Look at the root system, look at what the issue is, shine
Right.
light on it, cultivate self-love. Why the heck would you then want to ruin that? Like you just don't. And
Right.
that's what happened naturally. She never came, our mentor never came to me and was like, stop drinking. She just was like, well, why, how is it helping you? Just like, let's talk
Mhm.
about it. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, not, it's helping me feel better at my job that I hate. Okay. It's helping with my anxiety. Okay. Well, why don't you quit your job? Like,
Yeah.
and then we worked at my trauma and we looked
You
at,
know, that's an interesting point, though. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say this. A lot of people think they don't have any other options.
I know,
Oh, I'm stuck at my job because it pays the bills. Well, actually, you're
no,
not.
I know. And
There's
it's like,
options always.
this is like the most profound thing I have ever understood is that our life is our choice. And I know that sounds so silly, but it's
No.
not. Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
You have choice. You are choosing to suffer. And I
Mhm.
know that's harsh, but you are in the sense of
Mhm.
like, how can you make it better? Well, I have to be at my job. No, you don't. You don't. You
Mhm.
can change your job. You're choosing not to
Yeah.
because it pays really well. Okay, well, how can you do something that pays really well that you love? Can you take
Yeah.
a weekend course? Can you start to do things like that light you up? Slowly move away from it. Choose differently. You don't have, I'm not saying
Mhm.
like all of a sudden quit your job and sit at home and like
Yeah.
create more problems,
Because
but
that could be scary. you know?
Yeah, you're gonna like that's that's too much for the nervous system.
I think that's why a lot of people get that fear from making a big decision because they think that I just have to like cut it off cold turkey. Then what? Sometimes that happens in life. Like sometimes you got to just decide, I'm leaving this marriage
Yeah.
and I don't know what's on the other side. I don't have a plan. Or I'm leaving this job today. Like I've had enough and you don't know what's on the other side, but that's not always and doesn't have to be the case. Like you can explore options if you feel safer, that's okay, right? Because if you're going to make a decision to make a change and you feel a little bit safer, that's better than being so scared of making any changes and not moving at all.
Yes, because then you are a victim, but you're a victim by your own choice.
Yeah.
Because that was a really hard reality that I had to like swallow. Like I am choosing to go to this job and to drink in the mornings
Yeah.
and to hate my life. I'm choosing this. And it feels like we have no
Mm,
choice sometimes,
mhm.
but it's like how really understanding how can we take our power back? How can we
Yes.
own the shit we're doing that's making us more miserable? Because when you own what you're doing that's negative, you can then own what you're doing that will serve you. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I am responsible for myself being miserable. Okay, I own that. That's like, that's deep. Like, holy crap. Like I am causing my own stress.
So
How,
when she asked you those questions, Morgan, were you like, whoa?
yeah, like
Because you did.
I was just spiritually awakening at that point. I was just like, I need help. I know I need help. And she was asking like, well, first she would, yeah, she asked me,
How is this serving you? And you're like, oh,
I think I was offended, probably. I was probably like, fuck you. Like, to be honest, I was probably so hurt that somebody, how dare, my ego was like, how
yeah.
dare you say that to me? But I had invested this money and she was helping me. And I was like, at this point, I was ready to accept any help. And
Yeah.
these were really, really tough questions. Nobody had ever made me accountable for. And it was like a
Mm.
part of me was like, it was so harsh that I knew it was right.
Because the truth can be so hard sometimes.
Like, I was like, how
You're
dare,
like, I don't want to take accountability for this.
yeah,
It's my job's fault. My life, it's my life.
it's not my
No,
fault. I didn't cause my
exactly.
own trauma. I didn't do this. I'm just, and you don't cause your own trauma. You
Yeah.
don't. But unfortunately, it is our responsibility to heal the trauma because if
Right.
we don't, we are going to literally be our own a victim of our own life and our of our trauma and our circumstances
Hmm.
forever. It's going to be this
Hmm.
person's fault and that person's fault and my parents' fault, and it probably is,
Hmm.
but that's not an excuse to continue living that way. And really
Yeah.
understanding that was like, ooh, like I've had
Oh shit.
plenty of days of like, don't talk to me, I'm miserable.
Yeah, totally. And like even now, like on the path of healing and um uncovering all the pieces, it's like sometimes those little shadows still pop up and you're like, ooh, okay, this is playing out in this reality now. Like let's go back to this and like figure out what can we shift here, like change of perspective.
As we're speaking about this, I'm getting like a like just like whoa, this is how far I've come. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm sitting here. I mean, I can, but hearing this
Hmm.
part of my story again and remembering the like ego shame and like how dare you talk to me that way to now
Mm.
talking to people this way, encouraging
Full circle.
and yeah, encouraging them to see their own shadows and
Yeah.
encouraging them to own their power instead of
Mm.
being their own victim is like, whoa, like I kind of don't even recognize that person anymore who I was.
So beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
interesting. It's so beautiful. My dad is a recovered alcoholic, and sometimes I like to have deep conversations with him too, just to understand, like, and to be able to relate. And he said nobody's ever going to be able to encourage you to change. You have to choose it.
You
You
have
have
to.
to choose it. You have to choose you. And in that, like, being able to fully look at yourself and take responsibility, like you said, for your life, and be like, actually, it is a choice.
Yeah.
It's confronting.
It's really confronting. And I can speak for addicts. So I can say, addicts really feel like life's being done to them. And it's
Right.
like you don't understand. It's being done to me. And so I think it's really powerful to have people like myself and anybody else who's really gone through this sobriety journey, or from all walks of life, really
Yeah.
power back. But just to be like, actually, no, like that's a bunch of bullshit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are being a victim. You need to give your head a shake. You are worth so much more. You are, because it's the story of unworthiness for so long that gets ingrained in us. And then we're
Mm-hmm.
a victim of this and that and whatever. And it is so real.
Mm-hmm.
It
It's
is.
so true.
It's
It's
like,
your reality. You're
it is
living
your
in it.
reality.
Yeah.
But an addict or anybody with the story of like life is being done to me, you can choose to have life not being done to you. You can be
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I am not accepting this for myself. I am worth so much more. I can have anything I want. And I know those are such contrasting perspectives. And I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't ever say this to somebody who is an addict, or maybe I would. It just depends on, the person. But
Yeah.
when we have such a wound of unworthiness and confirmation of that, it's
Yeah.
sometimes like not believable that we are
Mm-hmm.
worth having anything else,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't understand, and like my life is hard and this and the blame game. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta be gentle with it, but
Yeah.
that's really just a protective mechanism at the end of the day, that they've had so much pain at some point, and they've
Yeah.
now shoved the world out, and it's like, you
Yeah.
don't understand my pain. And so for somebody to come in with like the way our mentor did, with all this like confronting, but actually you're worthy. I was like, but actually, like, you're choosing this. I was like it just was a lot, but it here I am. So it did.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
empowered me to now help others. And
Yeah. It's like almost like if you're in the space where it feels like where you are, change isn't possible.
Mhm.
It's like, do you think it can be better than this?
Yes.
Do you think it can even just be a little better than this?
Can you
You
feel
know?
better now?
Yeah.
1%. Just take it slow. That's
Yeah.
like it's just too much light to throw at people sometimes when you've been living
Yeah.
in that, in the darkness and in like your pain, and it's too much to throw
Mm-hmm.
so much at people. And I wouldn't expect, I was obviously ready to receive it, but I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
expect everyone would be, and that's okay. Like, exactly like you said, just a little bit. It's like, oh, can you feel better
Mm-hmm.
now? 1%, 2,
Yeah.
slowly, gradually understand that, like, can you feel better? Can you feel better now?
Yeah. If you can choose one thing different today,
Yep.
what would it be? But like, so you've taken this long journey of sobriety and getting yourself your own place. You have your own house,
Thank
and
you. And I just
starting your
got a
own.
dishwasher yesterday.
You just got a dishwasher. It's so exciting. And you're setting up your office for your
Yes.
business.
Yes.
What have you been walking through personally lately? I know every time we ask the question on the podcast, what does it mean to have an empowered heart? Trust has been a big one for you. So do you want to share that?
What have I been walking through lately? I think really just stepping into my power more
Mm-hmm.
as a
Mm-hmm.
leader, as somebody to hold others you know, I'm studying hypnosis right now. I'm almost at the end of the certificate, and I will, this is going to be an additive to my business venture, and how just owning another level of power, like
Mhm.
just continuing to own who I am, own the fact that I am powerful, that I am empowering for others, and that to help others change. Like that's a big hat to put on. Like
Yeah.
it's big shoes to fill. Like, you know, and I don't mean in the ego way, but it's just I take it seriously, and I just want people to
Yeah.
have effective change. And hypnosis has
That's good.
been such a powerful tool for my own healing, to be able
Mhm.
to like look at programming that I have that I don't like, you know, they always say, if you want to know what's in your subconscious, look at your reality. And I didn't
Mhm.
understand what that meant. I was like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But what it means is look at your reality. Like, is your room a disaster? Are you
Mhm.
look at your relationships. So look at your life. What do your finances look like? Um, are you nice to yourself? Do you love yourself? Are you treating your body right? You know, do you exercise? All of these things. How
Mhm.
is your stress level? All of these things are your programming. So if your
Mm.
programming says that I deserve chaos somewhere, your life will reflect that. So this is like a
Mm.
fear
My
thing.
ears ringing. Confirmation.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
this is the whole mirroring, like who we are is what we have or what we see, right? Our internal reality is our external reality. So
Mhm.
it's the whole mirror. So it's like, are you kind to yourself? Does your life reflect that you're kind to yourself, or you're constantly stressed out and crying and this and that for no reason? Are you constantly upset?
Mhm.
Are you constantly living in all this fear and anxiety? And there's no shame in it. It's just it is what it is. And that's another confronting thing to look at, right?
Yeah, it is because it is, again, your choice. You can
Yeah,
make the change. You
yeah,
can choose to make the change.
yeah. And yeah, it's
And
just
that is so
what?
confronting though, because now I'm
Really?
like, is my house messy?
Okay, well, like my house is a little bit messy, but it's like at the end of the day, can you live? Is it harming
Yeah.
in some way? Is it causing your life to not move in the direction that you want it to move in? Like, I'm not saying
Mhm.
we're going to be perfect. There's no such
I
thing.
know.
We are who we are. It is what it is. But are you unhappy, and how
Mhm.
are you contributing to it, or how is your programming contributing to it? And so I've had to like pull out all this shit from my subconscious and rewire my belief systems after I got sober. So it's like I got sober, I understood all the things, I understand how to process emotion, and now I'm like, I actually don't like fully what's going on. And so I've
Mhm.
removed my belief systems, changed them, rewired my programming, and I'm like, I love myself. I really do. And
Mm.
I like myself. And
Yes.
that
I love that.
isn't that where we all want to be?
Yes, we do. I think that a lot of people don't even realize that that is such an important relationship. Like it's like we are constantly working on the external and how to strengthen our relationship with our kids and our pets and our friends. And we forget that the most important relationship is really with ourselves.
Oh, it's making me emotional.
Well, and you and I both like self love is huge
So important. Like
for
every
both of
day.
us.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
because we abandon ourselves for so long. And
Yeah.
so I'm like I have like a watch on myself. I'm like, I'm very mindful now. Like,
Mhm.
are you participating in things or activities or conversations where it's not to your highest good and doesn't represent self-love? Because it was a program for so
Mhm.
long of abandoning myself, it
Yeah.
I can slide into that easier. So I'm very
Yeah.
mindful of like who.
Let's talk about that for a second, Morgan. Like, just explain to the people listening what self abandonment means.
Yeah. So I would tie it to your own worthiness, your inherent worthiness, what you want, what you
Mhm.
desire, what you and what you know, your true boundaries are. And
Mhm.
so we can, as people, want validation. We can't as people
Mhm.
please to receive love. We can not have boundaries so that we get our way or we get something from somebody, instead of, again, taking full accountability that our
Mhm.
happiness is up to us on an internal level, that other
Mhm.
people are not responsible for us smiling during the day, for us, you know, having shelter and food and worthiness and joy and like
Yeah.
anything. It's our
Yeah.
responsibility. And oh God, I've lost my train of thought. Um,
Okay. I have an example.
self-abandonment can, you know, for the longest time, because I grew up in chaos and didn't understand that I was important, okay,
Hmm. Yep.
because I was taking
You
care of,
weren't taught that.
no, so I always would take care of my mom. Like 14 years old, I was picking her up off the ground, calling the police at night, calling an ambulance because she was bleeding or something awful. And
Hmm.
so I was second.
Yeah.
People get pushed to the side. We don't matter. So it's, and so then we just live like that. And that creates more of we don't matter. And we enter into relationships of we don't matter. And these people are better than me, or this person, I have to listen to them, or whatever it might be, or like an
Hmm.
asshole of a boss or an asshole of a partner or whatever. We,
Yeah.
it, we forget about us,
Yeah.
and we forget about our need, or I'm going to sleep with this person because then they'll love me, or well, wait a second.
Yeah.
What about I want a relationship? If I want a
Yeah.
relationship, then I won't be sleeping with these people because that doesn't equal love. And it's
Yeah.
remembering like I'm not going to participate in things that don't help me achieve what I want. And am I explaining this
Mhm.
properly? Like I feel like
Yeah, yeah, you are.
give
It
me an
makes perfect
example.
sense.
I feel like
So,
give a tangible example.
well, I've been talking to my kids about this,
Okay.
okay? Because they're in prime teenager years,
Hmm.
and kids think that, well, first of all, they're scared of confrontation. They
Yeah.
don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah.
So when it comes to something that they don't want to do, they will complain about it. Okay. And instead of confronting the person and saying, hey, like, I don't really want to come to this. Like, I'm feeling like um, I'm just not in the right space.
Yeah.
They will abandon their needs to go do it, even though they don't want to. And so, and it happens in so many different like specific areas. But like I had this conversation with Bella last night. She was all upset. And I said, listen, I understand the conversation that you're going to have feels hard, but I'm going to tell you, you not doing anything about it is way harder on you. Way harder on you. It's uncomfortable, but your needs, what you want, comes first before what you think they're going to care about.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like so many other areas in life. It's like I don't know what another example would be.
I think it's comes back to, and we've talked about this before. You explained that way better than I did. I was like going on a philosophical tangent. Um, it comes back to saying no,
Yeah.
saying yes, saying no,
Yeah.
not out of, well, if I say no, will they not love me? If I say
Yeah.
no, will I not be
They're going to
accepted?
get mad at me. Yeah.
They're gonna get mad at me. It's like
Yeah.
I'm saying no because I'm tired. I'm
Yeah.
saying no because I matter.
Yeah.
Period. And like, but that we are not taught often. Like,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful that you're teaching your kids this. Thank God for you. Thank God you're
Mm.
passing this on, because,
Thank you.
you know, yeah, because we
One of the,
don't have
well,
enough of this.
it was my hardest lesson. And
Mine
we
too.
will talk about that one day when you
Yeah,
interview me. I will tell you all about it. I was always second.
yeah, me too.
And I would just like give up anything for someone else.
Yeah.
And it's not right. Ever.
And we think that like people are really going to have a problem with us saying no. Like
Yeah.
it's
So
such a
true.
big
Yeah.
fear. Like our bodies go into
Hmm.
like primal fight or flight with when
Hmm.
we're going to say no. But it actually just gets easier. And actually, when you say no, people don't actually care as much as we think they do. And really, if they do, like, who gives a fuck? Like
I
then they're
think
not.
it's like, do you think it's like a lack of like self respect? It's
Yes.
like I respect more about what they think of me
100%.
than what I think of myself and how I'm going to honor myself. That's what it is for sure. Yeah.
Yes. It's self-respect, it's
Yep.
self-worth, it's
Yep.
love,
Yep.
it's all of the things. Like it's all of
Yep.
it. I
All
have
the selves.
self-confidence,
Yep.
anything, it's all of it. And so working on, I've had to work at one thing at a time.
Hmm.
Self-respect, one thing. Like one time of my life, like I'm working on self-respect, then I'm working on self-worth, and then I'm like, ooh, I've kind of teetered on my
Hmm.
self-respect. Let's go back to that. And that's
Hmm.
self-love. So what they say in my
Yep.
hypnosis course, it's like self-love is always. It's the air you breathe. It's not just today or for 5 minutes. It is a state
Constant.
constancy, like
Yeah.
always. It's
Well,
always.
and lately, I know you've been working on self-trust
Yes. So there's another one.
and following your heart and letting that be okay. Instead of like in the past, you said, you know, pain was the guide, and it was like you were taught to move away from pain all the time. And all of a sudden you remove the pain and you're like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Now what? Like literally, like what do I do with myself?
Well, yeah, because so the way I word it is like my life has been like a traumatic dumpster fire, and not in a complaining way.
Yep.
That's how it's
Yep.
been, and that's what I learned how to get comfortable with. Like I got very comfortable living in a dumpster fire, and I figured it out. I'm like, "Ooh, I know how to like make money in a dumpster fire, and like I know how to like navigate relationships, shitty relationships and shitty jobs and like asshole people. That's my thing." So then I removed all that out of my life, and I'm like, "Wait, like
Hmm.
now I'm scared." Then I was
Hmm.
scared without it. It was weird. It still is kind of weird. Sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, I'm bored. This is too easy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's just another unlearning.
Yeah.
It's just like life actually gets to not be hell.
Yeah.
It's going to be perfect every day, but it actually gets to be easy. Like even this morning,
Ooh. Yeah.
I told you, I'm like, I'm freaking out.
Yeah. And I was just thinking because it's like we've almost been taught that anything good we ever get, it's just gone right away. So it's like when something comes into your existence that feels good, it's like you're instantly scared. It's like
Yes.
you can't even enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, you see
Yeah.
those TikToks of like people saying, here's what you'll go through when you finally like have a good relationship after having toxic relationships. It's often the hardest relationship
Mhm.
because you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop and it never
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, you're like guarded.
You have your own internal dumpster fire going on.
So interesting because this just came in like as a little download is like it's actually really challenging to stay soft and open,
Yeah.
you
Especially
know?
if you're, I mean, I don't know what we'd have to interview somebody who's like not been through. Like, I want to find somebody who's like had a nice, gentle life. I'd love to hear their perspective on it. Like, it would be actually
Mm,
fascinating.
actually, yeah, I love that.
Like,
Do we know anyone?
I
I
don't know,
don't know off the
who
top of
hasn't
my
walked
head.
through trauma early in life? Well, I mean, everybody has, but like not major trauma. It would be fascinating to see their perspective on life.
I
Fast.
think that there's one person that I know closely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it would be like, it would be fascinating just to
Yeah.
like, life is just normally normal.
Because like we come here and I know like our mentor said this the other day. And she's like, sometimes you have to like remember you chose this path. And I was like, oh my Lord, we did.
Yeah.
Why would we choose this path? What are
You
we
know what?
thinking?
Okay, so I got a hypnosis session done the other day, and I had like some major insights. I was able to see myself as a 3-month-old, and I was able to like get insight on energy. And like, because the same thing, like, why the heck would I choose this? And it came through as like, we come to Earth to grow, to evolve. That is it. It's a matter of fact. It's like, it's like, imagine you get a checklist. It's like, I'm going to learn how to work through this check mark. I am going to alchemize
Yeah.
anger. Check. I am going to alchemize
Yeah.
self
Judgment is one.
judgment,
Yep. Yep.
self-trust, whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
we organize that however we do, and that is the only schedule. We don't take into consideration, like, our souls don't care that we have to go through all the emotional process to get there. We are just here to evolve.
Yeah.
However that gets done, well, we've done it. There's
I
no
think there's like 8 things that we are supposed to master in this life. We should print the checklist off and go
8.
through it. Yeah. 8.
Okay, where'd you get that information from?
8 life lessons. My mom told me that. She watches these really conscious videos, and
Really?
one of the people, I don't know if it was like Dolores Cannon or one of those
Yeah.
people. Yeah. She's like, yeah, there's like 8 life lessons that we learn. And I
Dolores
know
Cannon.
I just remember her saying like prejudice is one of them. And
Oh,
it's like not just like racism, but like
yeah,
just judgment in general. When we judge ourselves, when we notice ourselves judging someone, like that is one of the Earth School lessons.
that's fascinating.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Like we should print the checklist and make sure that we learn these lessons.
A,
Yeah.
how do we find out what?
Um,
Dolores Cannon is a hypnotherapist.
she's amazing. I love Dolores Cannon. I
So,
think it would be like life soul lessons, maybe.
but they're different for everybody, are they not?
There's like 8 common ones, but yeah, they probably are different for everyone because some people don't have to learn the same lesson twice.
Hmm. Well,
That's very
I
quantum.
I am really praying that I have cleared a lot of my karmic shit out of the way, and I
I
can
feel
move
like
into the
you're,
dharmic. I think I have, but
yeah,
I think I have. I think I
it's
really,
just like little like cobwebs
yeah.
that you're just gonna continue to like kind of clean up as you go.
Yeah.
My dad explained it one time. I just gotta say this really quickly. He's like, I see like trauma as a closet. Okay. Like you filled this closet full of just shit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to go through the healing process, you don't just rip everything out of the closet and like go through it, but you take like one box at a time, see what you want to keep, put it back and set it on the shelf. And he's like, and once you get to the point where, you know, your closet is like put together and tidied and whatever, he's like, then you just go back in and like dust the cobwebs. And I'm like, I love that analogy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's what it's like.
Take all the clutter out. Yeah, that's great. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Your dad, thank you for that.
I will.
So I would say still having an empowered heart to me in this time of my life is self-trust. I'm still on that bandwagon. It's so much better. There's so much, it's growing. I'm growing every day, and it's a journey though.
Mm-hmm.
I've not perfected self-trust yet, so we can't check that off the list.
But
What
you're
if,
still doing it. I've had a very profound day yesterday, and I had a session with a very close friend
well,
and
actually,
learned
if you want to,
Ariel.
yeah, we had
Yeah.
her on last time. Yep.
Yeah. So she does ACHF, and I was going into the session wanting like a deeper connection to the spiritual realm and like my guides and my purpose and like what am I actually doing? And I feel like an empowered heart for me right now is like feeling like I know who I am fully. It's like I've always known, but like now I fully know, oh, yes, this everything makes sense now. So I just feel really empowered with not like knowing where I'm going, but
Mhm.
knowing right now, this is who I am. And that feels really good.
That's amazing. I love that.
Well, it's like, like we spend our entire life trying to figure out who the hell we are, I feel like.
Yeah.
We're we're like unlearning everything that we've learned.
We learn from 0 to 12, and then we spend from 12 to the rest of our life unlearning everything that was ingrained in us in that little short period of time, and unlearning and figuring out who we are, who we want to be, and how we want to live.
And I feel like I've landed. And I don't really have words, but I'm just like, I'm home. I'm home now.
That's great.
Feels so good. Well, it was so nice getting to know you.
Thank you. We probably should have done
And
this earlier, but it's okay.
always in divine timing. Thank you for sharing your story with us and your journey, not just your story, but your entire life journey. You are so empowering, and I love you so much.
I love you. And we
And
will have Krystle's story on soon.
yeah,
I think next week we're actually going to have my teacher, my hypnosis teacher on. He is a
exciting.
human. You guys will not, you will not be bored. He is,
Don't want to miss it.
no, he is a wealth of knowledge, wealth of quantum knowledge. Like
Mm,
conversation, you are going to
I'm
be,
gonna eat it up.
you're going to be like, give me more. Like you're going to be like, I sat and listened to him for hours at a time. Like our
Yeah.
trainings were 8-hour days, right? So, and I sat for 8 hours and I was like, I can eat more of this. This is great. Give me more. Like it
I love
just,
it.
so it's going to be a really good conversation.
So excited.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love you so much. And thank you
I
guys
love
for
you too.
listening.
Bye.
Bye.